It's the hidden roadblock that's taking them down. It's dampening their spirit. It's dampening their soul. And it hurts. It's hurting their love for life. It's hurting their love of self and their enjoyment of life. And it saps their purpose and their energy. Hello, I'm Tessa Lynne Alburn. Welcome to the Say Yes to Your Soul podcast, where we empower women to connect with their souls and shine in their business. If you are ready to embrace your brilliance, create meaningful connections, and be compensated for your specific gifts, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore inspiring stories, practical insights, unique points of view, and soulful strategies, all to help you thrive. So let's dive on into this transformative journey together. Tune in and say yes to your soul. Hello and happy 2025 to you. Last week, I shared about the stillness available at this time of year, and perhaps you've been able to get present to yourself this last week or two. And yet, it's very likely you're going to be caught in the same thing that so many people get caught up in. Because we're redefining our lives. We're setting our new goals. We've got our new plan, but it's not going to happen. Within a few days or weeks, our resolutions start to fade. And within months, they're for sure gone. You know that when you go to any gym in January, there are people literally lined up to get in. There's all these specials. Everybody's really raring to go. I'm going to do it this year. You can't get a machine. You can't get anywhere near the place because everybody's there in an attempt to transform their body and their life. And then by February, attendance has gotten pretty thinned out. And by March, it's almost empty in that same gym. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anyone. I want to see that goals that you set are realized. But there are so many roadblocks that get in everyone's way. So today we're going to dig into a couple of things around these roadblocks. I mean, look, of course, there are always roadblocks because real things get in our way. But it's not the real things that truly debilitate us because we know how to fix those. Instead, it's the things that we don't see. It's the things that we don't even know are dragging us down, or the things that we don't want to admit that are dragging us down. And we keep these buried so deep down inside of us, and we try to just keep going and pushing through and don't pay attention to those voices, but they're keeping us from our authentic self, from our power, and from being on our journey and fulfilling our path and going in that direction. I cannot tell you how many people struggle with it. And this is the time of year where we finally want to take control of it. We're all going to get our heads around it and get our willpower online for once and for all and create new habits for our well-being. But that's not what happens, is it? No. And this is definitely not our first go-round with this. This is not our first time around the sun. We've all been through it. Those roadblocks we don't know are going to hang us up. You know, I've got a retreat coming, and for those of you who are going to be there, you already know that this is a thing. You already know that this is an issue, and you know we're working on it at the retreat. And I want to talk more about the retreat later, but I want to talk about the hidden roadblocks now. And you know, this is really good. A client of mine, she mentioned when we were just starting our call together that she had a problem with clutter. And she was sharing how she knows that they've got clutter and would feel so much better and be able to create so much more abundance if she didn't, but she was settling for that one corner of her desk that wasn't cluttered. And so she had this awareness that clearing the clutter would be really beneficial to her. But every year, she resigned herself to trying to be okay with just the one corner of her desk being without clutter. It was like a regular practice to rationalize that that's good enough, just that one corner. Even though the stress was still happening from having the clutter everywhere else in her office. And so we dove in and I helped her uncover what was really blocking her, because it was not what her head had been saying for years. And for her, the end result was prosperity, abundance. It was amazing, right? And within a short time of that session, we were talking and she called me a prosperity goddess. Now, I don't directly teach that stuff. I'm not the guide on the prosperity journey. But for so many people, what's blocking their prosperity is this thing that they don't recognize or that they don't want to recognize. It's the hidden roadblock that's taking them down. It's dampening their spirit. It's dampening their soul. And it hurts. It's hurting their love for life. It's hurting their love of self and their enjoyment of life. And it saps their purpose and their energy. And maybe that's, the thing that's holding you back right now from everything you want, from that prosperity, from that excitement, from the fulfilling life, from the relationship that you have invested so much in that's not going quite as it should, or where it should be going or when it should be going. Yes, now is the time to fix it, but not because of a New Year's resolution. Because how much longer do you want to wait? How much longer do you want to wait for your fulfilling life? When do you want to be on the journey to where you're headed, where you want to be in your life, where you know you can be? Don't you want it now? So here's what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about roadblocks, the insidious nature of them, and how we really need to look at this in order to make progress, especially when we have an area we haven't made progress in. And maybe that's more than one area. Often that is the case. So you want to be your authentic self. You want to be brilliant. You want to be shiny. You want to feel shiny. And you want to not have to work at it so hard. So one of my coaching clients comes in, and let's just call her Angela. Angela comes in and she says, I'm feeling stressed and unsettled, and I'm really, really worried about all the things that are going on out there. And also, I'm doing this new job and all these things are changing. And we talked in her session about how stressed and how unsettled she was because of all the things going on. And whether it's, for some people, it might be a post-election thing, and maybe for others, it's the lead up to holidays or the start of the year, or it's some other kind of transition. And for her, it was a combination of the post-election stress and facing a new role at work. It was about her transition from one job into another one at the same company. But for her, she was transitioning jobs. I mean, right there, of course, anytime you transition a job, it's stressful. Even when it's a good thing that you're going to and you enjoy what you're doing. Now you're going to something better. There's some stress there. But if it's not a choice that you make, and you're being asked to transition to a new job, or else, there's no job for you, like you just don't have a choice, that's even more stressful. And for her, was it planned? It definitely was not planned. She had plans for herself, for her life, based on the income that she'd been receiving, and she had it all worked out for the next year, what things are going to look like. But this change was not planned. And other people are being let go in the company, and now she's ending up with more work than she can imagine doing, more roles, like she's wearing multiple hats. So it was an unplanned and unexpected change for Angela. And she's transitioned to this new thing, and she's very good at what she does. So she ends up with way more work. And so she's working harder and she's much more stressed out. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So you're probably that same kind of person, whether you have your own company, you're an entrepreneur, or you're the person in senior management or up the ladder at whatever job you've had, where everyone dumps their work on you. And you end up not only with your work, but their work too. And you're coming from not having a choice of the transition, or you just basically get handed an exit. And of course, Angela's super grateful not to be let go early, but now there's all this uncertainty and additional responsibilities all happening at once, and her plans don't make sense anymore. Now she's doing something else, right? And it doesn't come easy. It's not that simple. But clearly, like, you're somebody like Angela, you're that good, you can do it, and everybody wants you to do it on their behalf. But you've successed yourself into a corner. And you feel a little trapped, and you're like, oh, this hurts. This is a bit debilitating even. So what was her roadblock? The stress? The anxiety? You're scared about how all of this is going to work. How am I going to be successful? How am I going to do this? Have you ever been at a grocery store and suddenly your line seems to just stop? But the thing is, you're like on your way to a meeting, something really important. Maybe it's your kid at their softball game, or it's something parent-teacher night, or maybe it's something back at the office. And you know you need to get going, but you also know that you need the eggs or the milk or whatever it is in your cart because you just don't have time to come back. And others are counting on you too to bring certain items back with you. And you're getting more and more anxious. There you are in line, and just no movement. Like, you see somebody in front of you move their cart like an inch as if they're going to go somewhere, but they're not. And you're starting to feel, you're at first you're like, oh, I can wait. I'm a patient person. But then it starts to get to you. And now you're looking over at the other lines and you're noticing, oh, wow, those other lines are moving like crazy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get there. I'm going to get into one of those lines. So you hop lines, and for a moment, you breathe again. And then a person later, the same thing happens. Only to make it worse, the line you were in before is now moving again, and it's just like flowing. And it's going so fast, you're like considering going back into that line. As soon as you decide that you think you're going to do that, you see 4 carts or more carts appear out of nowhere, and you're stuck and you're frustrated in the line you jumped into. And now you're starting to beat up on yourself a little bit, right? Just a little bit. What is wrong with me? Why couldn't I just wait? What's wrong with my intuition? Geez, how did I not know which line to get in? Why isn't there more time? Shopping, can be so stressful, but it doesn't need to be. Why am I feeling so stressed? And this happens enough, and you're worried you're going to lose it. You're going to snap, right? Maybe you're going to snap at the checker. You're going to sneer. You're going to roll your eyes. You're going to just do one of those in line, and suddenly now you're either colluding with other people, complaining about it, or you're just feeling more frustrated. At the very least, your cortisol levels are rising, and oh my, there go that couple of pounds you were planning to lose this week. And you don't want to make a habit of changing lanes, right? Or you're going to wind up with a migraine or upsetting somebody you care about. And what happens at the end of the day is, right, eventually get through there. You don't want to make a habit of changing lanes. You know you don't want to do this. Sometimes you just can't help yourself, and you're worried about, oh my gosh, if I don't get through here, I'm going to have to make up excuses. I'm going to have to explain myself, like, why didn't I leave earlier? And all of that stress is just going and going and going. And at the end of the day, you're worn out because of all the stress that happened. because you were in fear about something, fear about being on time or letting people down. And then you second guess things, and then you second guessed yourself, and you stressed yourself out trying to go faster, but you got stopped. Then you beat up on yourself. Right? It's a nice little rut there. So you get home, eventually, the day goes on, and you find yourself collapsing on your couch and wondering why you don't have more energy. Maybe you even give a late cancellation and then try to deal with the consequences later. And with Angela, her career had become that source of fear and second guessing. And there were many more things at stake than just being in a grocery line. But the fear and second guessing weren't because of the job itself, but because she was doubting herself. She was doubting her ability to do it. She was in her own way. And the stress all accumulated and led her down that path. The people who hired her didn't do it because she wasn't any good. Nobody wants that. They hired her because she would succeed. They believed in her more than she did herself, right? So you remember that. If they've hired you, you've already demonstrated that they're taking somebody who's successful. But we in ourselves need to see our own success. We need to see that we can rise above new challenges because we're good at what we do. We have value. And what we do matters. Yet Angela couldn't see that the fear and the doubt was creating the anxiety that creates the stress in the job that slowly starts to reflect to the outside world. And she had all these stories, there's all these other things going on in the world and this and that and the other. And if we allow those reflections, that stress to be reflected in the outside world, firstly, that is not who we are. So we're not showing up authentically. We're not showing up in our power. And we're also telling other people that we're not good. So now we're showing who we aren't. And it makes them uncomfortable. Yet what's really inside of us is this strength, this power, and we're hiding it from other people? Like no career coach in the world would ever tell you to do that, right? Nobody would say, hide your true self at your job. No, 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 no. Your authentic self needs to shine, not because it's about the work. It's just a job. I mean, sure, you could get another. And Angela just proved she could. So what? You'll get another job. But when the strength is there, they're never letting you go. They will keep you as long as possible. There will be people vying for you. They're not going to let you go. And when that strength, that inner strength is there, when that confidence that people with certainty move with, they move with that energy, right? And they flow through life. On the other hand, people with doubt, especially driven by nothing except maybe their own pain, their own trauma, their own fear, when they try to move that way, when they're trying to go forward with that, they clog things up. They feel more stress, and then their problems are increased. And pretty soon they're projecting or transferring onto everything around them how problematic things are. And in our work together, Angela was moving through that because we removed the roadblock. And she was now moving through life with the confidence and the strength of her true inner self. Her innate wisdom, her universal connection, right? This is not the connection that, let's say, she had with other people that she used to work with or that she's now building her relationships on and her workspace with, and not her family. Like those connections, they're not actually present to you when you're contracted, when you're in fear, and when you're in doubt. When you're conflicted, your connections with others are conflicted. When your connection with yourself is conflicted, every other connection in your life is the same. You can't be you when you're not being you. You can't show up in the world with your gifts and your genius. You just can't. Here's this tiny little thing, this tiny little roadblock with massive repercussions. So removing roadblocks are the things I help people with. Angela knew that without removing that roadblock, her health was also at risk. This is where she had to really dig down and be honest with herself. Because without getting to the true root of the issue, she would have exacerbated a current health problem she's dealing with, and she would be in a losing battle. Roadblock removal sessions are really powerful. Like with Angela, they uncover sometimes very unconscious or very hidden roadblocks. It's not necessarily the problem we think we have. Sometimes it's something else. Almost in every case, it is something else. It's something deeper, something more undermining, and we just can't see it. It's this little thing that upsets everything, and it manifests in all kinds of different ways. And until we fix the roadblock, we can't get to our life's work. We can't even fix any other problems that are going on. You know, maybe as an entrepreneur, if you're hung up in a specific piece of anxiety and you're busy trying to build your business, or, do you think you could build your business effectively if you have an anxiety about your home life, or you're feeling obligated about family relationships or others in your life or other responsibilities you've taken on? When these things are literally taking energy out of growing your business, do you really have all your energy that you need in order to put that energy into your business? Or is this little roadblock of how this lifetime struggle that you've had with your mom, let's say, and what your mom needs from you, or even worse, maybe her judgment of you, or maybe your perceived judgment that she has of you? If your energy is still caught in that, do you really have all the energy you need to build the business that you have, showing up in the world to do something really important and powerful? And you're going to let that huge impact that you have for the world be caught up by the weight of obligation, the weight of over-responsibility that you have in your relationships, and maybe the guilt that you felt with your mom that's lasted a few years, that you're still not over. Janice, another gal, had come to me from one of my workshops, and what was happening with her was something very similar to this. Her focus was continually derailed from her business due to family things that would come up, and she just felt this overwhelming obligation, like that was her first priority. She was putting everything else, and I'm talking about little stuff. Oh, would you pick this up, from the store for me? Oh, would you stop by over here? Or would you do this? Would you do that? Would you come take care of the dog? Little stuff, not emergency stuff, not big life-threatening stuff. And it would take priority because she couldn't live with the tension inside of herself. It would take priority over her business. And over time, as she did this more and more and more, she began to lose the vision for her business. All that inspiration and all the skills that she had cultivated and all that she had done to hone what she could do and how she would be helping others, she just couldn't see how she was going to be able to help her mom and her business and her clients. So she started to let the vision of her business fade. But then another interesting thing happened. She started to miss a whole bunch of days because of this inner conflict and feeling unresolved, because the stress made her sick. Right, you can lose a shot at leadership during a time of major promotion because of something someone did years ago. Your mother, your father, some fight you had with your sister or your aunt or your cousin, it doesn't matter. And I'm not making this up. This happens all the time. I've seen it over and over. Another client who was cycling between huge successes and bigger setbacks in her major foundation, she kept trying to adjust strategies, right? Oh, another strategy, another this, I'm going to try this new thing. This new technology. or this new strategy of how everything's going to lay out this year. She would hire new vendors. And she couldn't create harmony and continued success until we uncovered her hidden roadblocks and removed them. And it's always from the past. We want to move beyond it, but we must deal with it first. So when we do roadblock removal sessions, sometimes the things we uncover are not at all what we started with, like not at all what's expected or anticipated. And most of the people who come to my retreats have either been through a roadblock session themselves directly, or they've been through what we also deliver in breaking roadblocks in other ways, like through my 8-step program with private coaching or through one of my other workshops. So I want you to know that if you're actually ready to have success in one or more areas of your life where you're not consistently creating it, so you're not looking over your shoulder and past regrets or worrying about all the changes coming and coming and coming, because they're going to come. If you're ready to get the support that's going to make a lasting difference so you can be resilient, so you can be confident, so you can be calm, then I want you to email me. Connect with me by emailing Tessa@realizedsoul.com. That's realized with a D, soul.com. And let's have a chat to see if a roadblock removal session is going to help propel you forward with ease, with peace in your heart, and relief in your belly. I send you light and love for your deepened awakening. May you know your soul and the success of all that you are. Bye-bye for now.
All right. If you're hearing this message, you have listened to our newest Say Yes to Your Soul episode all the way to the end. And for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I invite you to stay updated with me, and the best way to do that is to sign up for my free gift, 3 Steps for How to Reignite Your Soul Fire. And you can get that at tessafreegift.com, tessafreegift.com, or just go to the podcast website, sayyesToYourSoulPodcast.com, and that's where we have all the episodes and more. I wish you an amazing day.